So, Vince, you run a podcast production company and have built a number of custom GPTs to support you in your business. For people who don't know, can you just explain what is a custom GPT in some simple, basic terms?
Yeah, so custom GPT is, the base model of ChatGPT that you give a very specific role to. So you basically add some special instructions to it. You give it some information, maybe some different documents that you have to help it get specialized in this certain role. It's almost like you're taking a GPT and putting it through school. You're like, all right, you're going to go to college and you're going to be a PR expert now. And so it's like you're feeding all of those kinds of classes with the idea that by the end of it, it's got all that information, it's built for that task, and it can make your life easier. That's really the ultimate goal.
Nice, nice. And so, in your work in using ChatGPTs, what have you seen are the benefits? Like, do they help you save time? Do they help you get more customers, increase conversions?
Oh yeah, I mean, first off, time saved is everything. I mean, for me, being in the podcast business, there's so much to be said for the amount of newsletters that you're writing, captions for different posts, things like that. So to be able to have a GPT that can help me with some of these specific things, it's a game changer. For example, I have a custom GPT that is for newsletters, so I have one for that. And it also helps me with some copywriting on LinkedIn. So I'll do like a shorter version of the same kind of stuff. And I'll have one GPT built for that. And then I have another one that helps me out with pitching myself to be on podcasts. So I've done so many different guest pitches that I hand wrote to start, and for all these different shows to figure out, hey, here's how I can be a fit for your show, and here's my major topics and all of that. And after a while, I had a really good flow of it, and what I thought was good structure, and how I pitched myself to different shows based on what I'm about and what that show was about. So I was able to get a GPT that I could say, hey, here's the show and here's all the information based on what you know about me, because I trained the GPT to pitch me. Then, hey, how would you suggest that I pitch myself to these shows, and go write that using a template that I've given you? And so now it's just like, hey, getting pitched, same bang, 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 bang. And it's not only am I saving so much time, but I'm still maintaining my personal element of these are the ways that I wrote these pitches. It is my voice. It is my tone. It is my topics. All of it's me, but I'm just getting the redundancy of that task and making it automatic, essentially. So stuff like that. Yeah. The amount of time saved. And then otherwise it's just, social media is awareness. So being able to get these posts up, a lot of times people don't post because they don't have the time to do it. They don't want to think about it. It's exhausting. So to say, hey, here's a custom GPT that is going to make posting for me easier. And however you want to approach that, like the exact process, we can talk about that. But the basic idea is, I know I'm more willing to post because it's not as time consuming for me to do it. So what you see with the effects of your overall visibility and how that impacts your network, like it's this cascading effect. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. I've played around with custom GPTs. Obviously, want to get more into it, but I set up like a custom blogging GPT, and so it just, you put in like the tonality, who it's for, the structure, and everything, the format. And I was actually really impressed at how accurate it was, and how it just keeps kind of learning. And like you said, saving time obviously is a big one. I think my record was smashing out like 4 blog posts in a day, and I was like, that's pretty decent,
Yeah. All
and
right.
then
Yeah.
and then
That's
you
good work. Okay.
and then you just go through like more, you become more of like an editor rather than having to generate all this content, and it becomes more about how are people going to be reading and consuming this content versus just having to write things from scratch and all of that. So I think that's really cool. So so you mentioned sort of like LinkedIn, sort of social media content repurposing. Is that kind of the main way you use GPTs, or like what sort of would you say the main GPTs used for your business are?
Yes, so a lot of it is for me, it's almost as associate producers and administrative assistants is how I do it a lot. So for me, yeah, if like getting pitched on the shows is essentially a producer role. Like I need to get in all these different places. I need somebody that understands my message, understands other podcasts and their audience and how that fits. So that's a big thing. Writing the newsletters and getting good content out of that based on my podcast. So I'll get the transcript from my podcast, and that's typically what I'll a lot of times convert into a newsletter and do that. Other things might be I've designed certain GPTs to also do it for my clients. So if I'm doing posts for a specific client, I might design a GPT that's built for them and has some level of understanding of that specific industry. So real estate or a leadership coach. For example, I have one leadership coach who they had honestly like 500 emails that they had written. They've been doing a newsletter for years, and they personally wrote every single thing because it's been going for 5 years. So way before GPT. So to be able to get all of those and build a style guide and all of the information around that person and just use it to simply, hey, I've got a video that's about this. I need a transcript that's going to tell a story that's related to this topic and has a point. Go. And to be able to do that, super simple. So yeah, that's a lot of it is simple post writing in a specific voice, specifying based on the platform of, like that newsletter or elongated blog post kind of content versus your quick caption versus I don't know, different emails that I might send to a client or a pitch that I'm sending. So a lot of different shapes, all saving time.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. And have you automated any of the processes? Like if I write a blog post, then automatically take that content, repurpose it into an email, or is it kind of more manual step by step that you're doing it?
So I'm working to get more automated. The best things that I've done with automation so far is my intake process for new prospective clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got this whole automation. I use Lead Connector, and I've got a whole system there where when somebody books a call, they tell me right up front, hey, are you a new show or an existing show? And based on what they pick, I've got a whole client journey that's built out along the way with multiple emails and reminders. And did you fill out this quiz or this form or did you not? And so building out that has been huge and saved me an insane amount of time with intake. So that's been great. But I'm not yet at the point where it's fully automated because just to get those GPTs and connect them to other systems and like to connect it to your social media accounts and all, like I'm too picky about that stuff to like take a risk at this moment. So
Fair
until
enough.
I have like an absolutely proven ironclad system in place, I just can't do it quite yet. No.
No, that's fair enough. Makes sense. No, I tried automations with make.com where it was like, okay, I've got my GPT. Now please take the content, put it into like a Google Doc, then put it into like a WordPress blog post. So all I had to do was automate it, but I got stuck on the formatting and it wasn't formatting correctly. And I was like, I could sit down and spend a bunch of time figuring this out, but right now I think it's just quicker to like copy paste. So I think it really depends. And I guess that's kind of one of the downsides or kind of dangers with AI is trying to like have a tool for everything when sometimes it might be quicker to just have a human do something like I mean, and it just depends on what the task is. But yeah, rather than just trying to automate like every tiny little thing, it's like, okay, let's, like you said, automate the big things that are going to save the most amount of time and then, maybe just hand do the rest of it. So
Yeah, and it's tough too because the tools change all the time. Like they're getting all of these different
exactly.
updates, and there's so many competitors in the market. So things are coming and going, and you get these new integrations in AI that are native to the tools that you use, which they didn't have that AI before. So now, should you have built it on the internal AI, and you've got to rebuild your bots, and like, yeah, so it does get to this point of, oh, I've overcommitted to the technology, and now I've either got to like continue to manage 18 different softwares and things, or I can go and like take weeks of my life to go and cut these things down and rebuild them and almost start over again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, for sure. For sure. And so I guess if someone's listening and thinking, I've never heard of a custom GPT or I don't know how to do it, like what would you sort of say is like the kind of step by step process? Because I know some people tend to like overcomplicate stuff when it comes to AI, but from my experience, like building a custom GPT is actually super easy and simple. So yeah, if you could just run through like the step by step sort of process.
Yeah. So the first thing is think of the exact task that you want it to do. Like be as specific as possible of what that task is. I'll go back to the guest booking for me. So what I decided was I wanted to get the bot. I wanted to show it. Here's the exact show. Here's the name of the host, the name of the show, what the show is about, the kinds of guests that they're looking for, all this additional information. So I'm going to give you this. And based on it, I want you to then take a profile of me, which I loaded into the GPT, and some other information. And I want you to then take that and make a customized pitch for that show. So knowing that I'm giving those instructions and it's got this very specific function, it's less for the GPT to think about, and it's more refining the more that you do it in that feed, like with that GPT. So that's great. But then the second thing is, after giving it the specific directions is, and I just mentioned it, like you want documentation. And as much as you can guide, here's my speaking style, here's words I like and I don't like, here's specific instructions of templates. So I love templates, especially for a lot of people. They might want GPTs to write emails for them, basic emails that you're sending people all the time, outlines for proposals, or who knows. But for whatever those basic emails are, as much as you can say, here's what it looks like, I want you to fill in the blanks, or here's 3 variations of it, pick one based on the situation. Like, as much as you can narrow it all down and load that information in, the better. And it's going to make everything process faster. So that's number 2. After you set the task, is give it whatever information you need. And then the third thing, and this is really the continual process, is test it out and do that extensively. Push the boundaries of it, see if it works. Don't take it for granted right away that it's going to do the right thing. I mean, when I did it with all the guest booking stuff, it would put in, and hallucinate is the term when it's just making stuff up. So it's a very polite way to put it. Oh, I hallucinated. Yeah, you made it up. So it would make up the names of hosts. It would make up the names of the show. It would make up topics for me. And so it was like, whoa, there are ways with settings to adjust that, but basically you tell the bot, like, no deviation whatsoever. It has to be the exact name of the show. It has to be the exact name of the host. If you don't have that information, leave it blank. Do not mention it. So those kinds of, play testing and re-instructing, going back into the system and saying, hey, well, these are the kinds of problems that have been happening. So now I'm going to program it to not do those things explicitly. It's a constant feedback loop until infinity.
That's cool. And I'll just say also, for anyone who's not seen sort of the interface, it's within ChatGPT. You can just click create a custom GPT, and obviously they have different fields that you can fill in all of the information that obviously Vince yourself is talking about. And like you said, you put in as much information as you can, and then you reiterate as you go. And then it's like, oh, okay, like this is like maybe 80% of the way there, but yeah, maybe we need to like fine tune this a bit and add some more details. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and the nice thing is the more you're using it, the more use cases you have to work with. I've even had times where, as I'm having the conversation, so I'll have one thread with that bot that's for that specific task. And let's say it gives me a pitch or it gives me a newsletter, depending on the bot. I will, when I get the finished product, after I've edited that or rewritten it in whatever way I want to, I will feed that back in and say, hey, and for reference, here's what I did with it. This is what the final product is going to look like, with the idea that I'm informing the bot of, this is even more so what my style and voice is, and to guide its decision making that way. So as much as you can put that back to sort of reinforce what you're looking for, it's just more data for the bot to process, and it's going to give it better outputs.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's cool. Like, I know it's more obviously more work in the beginning, testing and refining, but then once you kind of got that thing sorted, that GPT running smoothly, then it's just going to make everything from then on easier, like whether it's content repurposing or guest outreach, like you said, or blog posts, video scripts, anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just such an investment. That's the thing. It's an upfront investment. It's a major upfront investment to figure it out and play with it, especially because I remember what it was like when GPT first really came out, and to be able to build a custom GPT. I mean, I spent weeks,
Mm-hmm.
weeks, and I didn't understand really what I was doing. So I was trying all these different experiments and getting a feel for it. But now to be able to say I've got, 3, 4, 5 different custom GPTs for a given scenario, and I can use those effectively, and they do save me time every single day, and I'm only getting better at it, and I'll be able to create more GPTs as that comes around. Like, you are literally building a team around you of bots. And
Mm-hmm.
and to think of, I don't know if you're like this, but I can be a perfectionist at times. So
Never.
it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, I really want it this certain way. And so, like, if I want somebody else to do it, but I've got these nuancy tweaks and things. So to be able to say,
Right.
okay, well, this bot has most of it and it's pretty darn close to how I sound or what I'm looking for, I can give that to somebody else. And I know that there's a certain level of certainty that they're going to get the kind of results that I'm looking for. And so, yeah, it does make your life easier. It does give you that extension of yourself without totally micromanaging anything. And you can go focus on the things that really matter and what you're really there for.
Yeah, and it's cool too because it's like if you are a perfectionist like myself, you can obviously, have so much influence and control over how the information is outputted. And also, it's included in a premium subscription. So you don't need to like go out and hire an assistant or go out and hire staff if you're a freelancer or a solopreneur. You can just go in and build, like you said, a chat GPT bot or a custom GPT rather, and program it to do any sort of task that you need sort of done in a content sense. Yeah.
Right. And like, what's the 20-25 bucks you spend a month to
Exactly.
have a custom GPT versus all those hours? Like, that's one of those things that
Exactly.
everybody tends to lose track of, especially early on, right? Yeah. Oh, well,
Mm.
I can't afford that $25. I need to do all this work. And it's like, no, you can't afford to not pay the $25. Like, you're going to save hours of your time as the executive of your business or
Right.
whatever your role is. Like, your time is valuable. And if you're not placing that kind of value on your time, you're going to make mistakes everywhere. So it's a good
Mm.
way to reframe things, right? Of just, oh, no, I do have a lot of the other stuff to do. I am prioritizing the value of these tasks, and the GPT is my way of solving that problem and focusing on the right things.
Yeah, and this is an important thing that I was sort of thinking about the other day of like, what is the return on investment of using like an AI tool like ChatGPT? And I love that you brought up, valuing your time and even putting like a dollar value on, okay, my time is worth this much per hour. So then it's like, okay, how many hours am I saving by using a custom GPT or an AI tool? And then what is the actual cost per month? And then, is it worth it? I think just breaking it down in such simple, like measurable dollar terms can really help people be like, well, if it saves me like, 5 hours a week, then it's worth, $250 if I pay myself $50 now or whatever it is, like it's just by quantifying. And I think it really probably helps people feel better about using it and putting that time investment in for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of clarity just makes everything easier, because then it's like once you start to get in that mindset, then it's a constant thing of, oh, what can I offload? What can I offload?
Exactly.
What can I offload? And yeah, it just goes to everything. It's
Mm.
huge.
Yeah, and even doing like a almost like a not an energy audit, but like a time audit of like, okay, what are the biggest tasks that take my time? And even just starting by tracking, okay, I'm doing these tasks every week and this is how long it's taking. And then reviewing it and going, okay, like what can I automate or what could I, bring in ChatGPT to do or build a custom GPT so that we're not like building something for something that takes us 15 minutes a week, but something that takes us 5 or 10 hours and really like targeting stuff in that way too.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about all this, like that ties all that together, is I'm actually thinking about hiring somebody to book me on shows, even though I have the GPT. Like, I just don't. The amount of time that I have to actually
Right.
go and pitch myself, even with the bot, is so limited that as much as I love being out on shows and meeting all these different people, and like it's such a fun thing and a good thing for the business to for my specific time to go and research the shows and make the pitches. At some point, it's like it, it's got to be worth it for somebody else to do this thing. Like, I
Exactly.
gotta be in other, like, because the show is a lot of time, right? Like, you're hosting the show. It's like, so when you're doing all this and it's like, oh, okay, well, I've got 35 minutes or I've got an hour or whatever it might be to do all those things plus the pitching. It's like all that time piles up, and I've got client work to do. I've got all these other things to build with the business, new sales channels and different ways of pitching people, networking events at night. I've got a wife, like, I should exist for her. So like all those kinds of things. Yeah, it's just like even the bot sometimes is not enough. You've got to get other people to manage the bot for you.
Hmm. For sure. For sure. No, I think that's smart. And I think something that probably people don't do soon enough is like delegating and hiring staff of like, okay, or even thinking about, just what in my business can I automate or outsource so that I can get my time back? Because after all, like I think that's the core reason so many people start a business is obviously to have freedom and control over our time. And so I think that's a really good point to make. Yeah.
Yeah, and we get sucked in from the obsession of the craft too, is the
Yes.
problem, right? Like, I love editing stuff and coming up with great topics, and when I can
Mhm.
put a trailer together where it's all these really tight sound bites that I edit down from 15 minutes of asking somebody about their show, and it's this beautiful 30-second produced thing that took me 5 hours to make. It's like, at what cost, so yeah,
Right.
it's like I get so attracted to that stuff, and it's like, yes, I
Mm.
like this stuff and it's part of why I do this, and it is valuable to the customer, but it's not valuable for the business to have me do that for 5 hours when I can do other things that bring in more business. Like, I gotta be elsewhere. So yeah, it's just like it's such a trap of, oh yeah, I love the work, and that time, same thing, it just slips away.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's like like I love that you mentioned that too, of like, what is the limiting factor in the business? Am I working on the thing that's going to move the needle the most, or am I just doing something because I'm like having lots of fun and like that's great? And if that's the goal, then fantastic. But then it's also like you said, like what about all these other things? And so something I like to think about a lot is what's like the biggest thing in my business that I'm avoiding, or what's the biggest thing that will get me like to take 5 steps forward that I, could do, rather than just, oh, I've got my to-do list and I'm going to check everything off. It's like, what one thing will make everything else on the list easier, kind of. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because perfectionism sometimes is a distraction,
of course.
right? You're channeling that energy to do something else, so you don't have to address the problem of like, I don't know how to solve this issue that I have. I don't know what
Yes.
the best route is to do this thing. So you know what? Let me spend 8 hours reformatting my newsletter.
Right.
It
Updating
just
my website.
right? Yeah, updating the website is a great one. I've done that so many times where it's just like, oh yeah, I've got to tweak that homepage copy again. And it's just like
Just the
clearly I'm
padding.
struggling. Yeah, so it's a constant problem, but it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's cool. And so what coming back to AI, I guess, what do you love most about using AI, or what are some really cool opportunities you found, or ways of using it that other people maybe don't know about?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is it has completely radically shaped how production works for
Mhm.
content. Completely. It's changed the game entirely just in the past 2 years. And it's in a way that it's eliminated entry level work on some level. Like it's good now to the point where it can master your audio. It can do camera cuts where if you have two people and each one is their own video, AI can sense which is speaker one, which is speaker two, and cut the video back and forth in between. And it's something that would take a long time to do. And now it can be done in 2 minutes with
Right.
AI. So it's like, okay, well, the time that you've saved and the lack of skill that it takes to make that kind of work, it allows you this freedom as a creator to make so much stuff that otherwise would have been impossible. So the AI on that level is liberating. And what's been fascinating, just from like an inside baseball podcast business thing, is editing is dying as a way to secure a livelihood. Like to be an editor, I mean, you really need like top of the line jobs on big shows with big budgets at big networks. Otherwise, to do this smaller level stuff and work at a small production company and do editing, like they're all slashing budgets. It's a more cost effective thing to do. The quality of the work is undeniable. And when you've got people with expertise that can use this AI like everything else, right? It's spitting out a newsletter or whatever, and you're a writer, no problem. You're going to edit that thing out still and get that finished product. Like that's what AI does for podcasting these days. Video clips, AI will give you solid enough video clips. A professional will make it better, but like the simplicity of running the business has gotten a lot faster, and it's also forced me to go, okay, well, production is not the route to survive. Like production is an add-on essentially. And really, where the business is its strategy. And as much as I can guide these people, whether they're making it themselves, because they are recording at home, they do have AI editors and all those other things, and I'm just helping them grow the audience and bring in business or whatever else I can do to streamline production for them. Like that's where my business is gone. And I think that's where a lot of people are struggling is like getting to that point, because
Right.
otherwise you can't edit. Like AI has just eliminated the need for so many different jobs.
Mm. Yeah, it's super interesting, and especially it seems to be shifting where, like, kind of like you mentioned about outsourcing or hiring someone to do the outreach. It's like AI can assist to a point, and then it's almost like needing someone to like oversee the AI. I've even had a client come on and say, they just want me to come in and review all the content that they're getting through ChatGPT because they don't want a bottleneck kind of thing. So it's becoming more of this, marketing strategy, marketing review, or like production review kind of roles where I think, yeah, people can learn to use these tools, then they could, use them and leverage them rather than being, made redundant by them.
Yeah. So that's it, right? It's like you have this experience and taste and mastery, and you can apply that to all of these things, and that's better. That's a great place to be. It's just going to be fascinating now for people who, because I built all those skills because I spent 10 years in radio, so I was working on radio shows, doing all sorts of different kinds of content, whether I was editing clips of the shows or sound bites of press conferences. I was doing comedy bits, so I would have to do all this different production. I produced a few commercials, so many different styles of editing editing and uses of sound and all these different goals of what the product was meant to do. And through that, I then had all these different viewpoints of how to manipulate the audio and get all of that. Like, I don't know. So I don't know where the specialist comes from in time. It's going to be fascinating to see if you can't get the work doing editing on an entry level or copywriting on an entry level, then how do you develop the mastery? Like, where are you going to get the opportunities to do that? Because people like
Right.
us, it's like I don't plan to leave the job market anytime soon. I'd love to retire early, but like I was able to get that experience, become an expert, and then AI's entered in where it makes my life easier, and it does make it easier to scale a business to the point that I want it to be. So yeah, for those entry level people, like that's going to be the big question: is what kind of pivot do they make, and how do
Right.
they make use of this technology and get that experience and grow their career? Like I have no idea.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And, you know, like you mentioned at the start, all of the different AI tools that keep coming out and evolving. And it's almost like just knowing, okay, what are the tools or what are the best tools to use? Because there's so many tools coming out like so quickly that sometimes it can be a bit like overwhelming. And so it's almost like having this kind of specialized knowledge of, okay, this is the problem or this is the task that I want to like solve, and then like what's the best tool to do it, and then kind of piecing it all together. But I think it's interesting what you said about, yeah, how it, like, what are these people entry level going to do, and what about people who haven't had even that entry level experience, who haven't had that experience of making a video from scratch and knowing how it all works and what looks good, and or writing a blog post from scratch and knowing kind of the structures or the templates, because at the end of the day you have to be able to know what is good content and how to get that out of the tool. Like, I think that's becoming more the role of the marketer or content creator.
For sure, yeah. The expertise and skill level difference is something that you have to make evident to people is really the challenge, because the availability, like I said earlier, with social media posts, more people, I would guarantee that more people are posting at a higher volume in general on all accounts on every platform.
Right.
Like, they just have to be. So with that, okay, well, how do you stick out? Because now volume is like impossibly large. So you need to be relentlessly better than people all the time in a way that more often than not, they're not going to be able to truly understand it or explain it. But by engaging with your content, just something about it is going to show that, like, oh yeah, no, this is better than other stuff that I'm seeing, and I'm going to clue into this person and keep going back to them. But yeah, getting them to visit in the first place is going to be impossible. It's always getting harder,
Mhm.
and to get them to come back, it's going to be a real challenge. And so yeah, you have to compete. Like, it's really competition more than anything.
Yeah, it was something I was talking to someone about on another interview, was just the piece of like authenticity. And it's like, we have so many tools and things are getting automated and content is like, far and wide everywhere now. And so it's like, how do you cut through the noise? Like, how do you bring a signal in amidst all of the noise and, bring that authenticity and not just be a cookie cutter and not just be like an AI replica? Like, yeah, what does that look like for each person? Because it's obviously going to be different depending on their personality, their upbringing, their skill set. Yeah, so it's gonna be an interesting space to watch.
For sure. It's one of the biggest challenges now. And it's funny because in podcasting, so many people think, oh, well, I'm going to have guests on my show and guests will bring their audience, and that's how I'm going to grow my audience. And that's not how it works. You have to actively go and find people and introduce yourself to them, and you have to do it in so many different ways. So if you're not willing to put in that work and take ownership of, I'm going to build this audience with my content for my business, then you're going to have a hard time,
Mm.
because everybody's looking for ways to get out there, and just I'm going to sit back and volume, and it's an open world. There's only a couple hundred podcasts out there. It's 2010. Like, it's long gone.
It's
So
easy.
you yeah, it's
Yeah.
all you need to do is just put it out there, and somebody will find it, and you'll go viral and get hundreds of thousands of downloads. And
Exactly.
like, that's it. It's all so simple, Ellie. I mean, we all know this. So yeah, it's just like such a preposterous thing these days. So yeah, everything I've had to build my business around and with the clients that I work with, is just, you've got to aggressively hunt your audience and be intentional with how you're spending your time to get in front of those people, because otherwise you're just wasting time.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important, and I think even more so, like, I think that's just getting more important as time goes on, because there's just this flood, or tsunami of information and content that's out there with the introduction of AI, and it's like, yeah, being very intentional about, yeah, how am I gonna create an audience? I think myself included, a lot of people when they start getting into business, it's like, oh, I'm going to sell this thing, but they don't have an audience. And I think instead it should be the opposite, like get an audience and then figure out what they want and sell something to them then. And so it's this interesting, yeah, you could have the best product or service in the world, but if you don't have an audience or you don't have a way to get an audience, like it's useless, you know?
Yep. So yeah, how do you get those things and put them together? Because a lot of people, when they're looking for content, what they think is it's big audience, it is sponsorships, it's all this other stuff. But when you're doing it for your business, it's your marketing. Like if you were to present the statement to somebody of, yeah, I'm looking to get sponsors for my advertisements, like you'd sound like a crazy person. You just can't. It's an insane thing to say. So yeah, you can't approach it that way. It's like this is your marketing. You are sponsoring that, and you're just making this stuff to go and connect with people. And if you're doing that and doing it well and doing it consistently and putting your personality and your opinion and your expertise into it, which is the big thing, then you'll connect. But if you're one of those people that's just putting content out for the sake of it, and it's give me 5
Generic.
ideas for content GPT, go. Like, yeah, if you don't curate
Yeah.
that, it's going to be garbage because everybody else can do that, and it's apparent. So it's going to, yeah, it's going to crush you.
And I think it's like ultimately, especially in a social media age, I think people everywhere, they just want to connect. They just want to be like heard and understood and be like, oh, this person gets me. And so, like for me, like I found the most effective marketing has been like that authenticity piece that, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing, rather than here's a generic 5 tips of how to do XYZ. It's kind of like we're coming into this age of, I was reading online about GEO, which is generative engine optimization, kind of AI version of SEO, and talking about, coming into this hyper specific information age where people are looking for hyper specific answers to problems. And so if you can create hyper specific, focused, targeted content that helps people, or if you're putting like a super authentic, unique spin on something, like that's what's going to, come through and connect with people. And so it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to write 7 steps to do XYZ, like it's really shifting.
Yeah, if I was going to spend my time teaching people like how to start a podcast, I'm wasting my time. The information is so available.
Right.
So I don't bother with that. Like my whole thing is I do have a process for starting a show, and like I can help people with that, and it's a very intentional 9 steps thing that I've put together,
Yeah.
right? So like I have that program, but it's not my main sales channel. Like my whole thing is I know I'm very specifically working with business owners who have tried the path of big audience, broad thing, sponsorships, all of that. It's not coming together for them. They're now looking to actually capitalize for their business, and they don't know what to do. So I'm there for that, and I'm selling that, because if I'm trying to sell for the new podcaster, I mean, first off, it's a constantly churning market, right? You're getting people in to start the show, and then after that, like what? Am I keeping them? Not always. Like it's a bigger challenge, and they don't have the commitment. So, and there's a million people that make that content. It's easy to go to GPT and get information on that. There's YouTube tutorials for it everywhere that have been around for 10 years and are still applicable. So there's like so much that it's not even worth it. That, yeah, the hyper specialization is you are a business owner with a podcast that is not working for you, and I am going to help you fix that. And there's only a handful of people that do it. And in that case, I'm ready to compete. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like if people have obviously unique challenges, it's something that, it's going to be harder for an AI tool or, Google to be able to help them with, oh, this is a very specific problem that I'm facing. And then that's where someone like yourself can really come in and help.
And that's what makes it stand out. It's not just, oh, I help people with podcasts. Like I was talking with somebody just before I got on the call with you. He runs a community that's for independent podcasters, but those people are entertainment focused. Like they have a passion project, and it's something that they're really into, but it's not business backed. They're not selling anything. They just love this thing and want to share it and build a community around it, which is great. But that's not what I do at all. So it's the similar idea of like you are independent, you don't have a big budget necessarily, and you're trying to build your audience, but yeah, it's a different goal. So to be able to approach it like that, it makes me stand out. Same thing with all those narrative, because there's so many like editorial, well-produced, fully narrative shows that might be only 10 episodes, but it's telling this big story the whole way. Like I
Right.
don't do that. So yeah, like the more specific I can be, the easier it is. The easier it is to sell, connect with the right people, build your audience. Yada yada yada. It's the whole thing.
No, it's great. It's great. And so I guess we're coming up on time soon, but how are you future proofing yourself and your business against AI? So how are you, yeah, setting yourself up with that?
Yeah. So a little bit of what I mentioned earlier, just like leaning in relentlessly to strategy. So that's the number one thing is trying to help people put together who they are, what their business is, the kind of formatting that makes sense for them, how long to do the show, how many episodes, audio versus video, audio, video clips, whatever it might be, the direct kind of people that they should be inviting on the show, how to phrase a topic like that micro coaching. So those are the kinds of things that I really do to future proof the business for sure. And then the second part of it is I am out and I am shaking hands. Like I am meeting people constantly. I care about those relationships. I'm curious. Like I'm lucky that I'm naturally curious in people and I like people and I want to know more about what they do because I know that on some level I know nothing. I know nothing about anything. So it's like, okay, oh, well, you've got this. This is a cool business. How does that work? And by doing that and being on, like if I'm on a show, I reach out to people on LinkedIn. Ellie, you will hear from me on LinkedIn. Like I will send you a request. We will stay in touch. I like to like people's posts. So by showing up and being an actual person that has actual interest in people is something that obviously the machines can't replace by design. So by building those relationships and being very intentional, I'm trying to position myself for a long run here. So I've been doing this for about 5 years now, which is great. I'm very fortunate to do that, and hopefully, I've got like I don't know, another 30. I got some time left on the road here. You know, I gotta keep moving.
Hopefully you get to retire early, like you said.
It would be great. Yeah. Hopefully, I'm way wrong on that estimate, but you just never know.
No,
Yeah.
you never know. And so what are some of your favorite AI tools or hacks that you found?
Yeah, so number one is ChatGPT and having the custom GPTs. I just hate doing mundane things, and to be able to have a custom GPT that does all of that is great. Otherwise, honestly, I've used things like it, the AI editors for sound quality because I could get in the weeds and do all of that stuff, but that's really great. AI tools for clips. Again, I don't think they're perfect. Like there's a lot that they leave in there where it's either the wrong start point or the wrong end point, or 10 seconds could get cut out of it. But if you're looking at Opus Clip, if you're looking at CapCut, and you can use those tools, they're maybe $10 a month to get a premium subscription with captions that are automated for you and clips that they generate. Like,
It's pretty good.
yes,
It's
please
a
do that.
no-brainer.
Please, right? For the love of God, save yourself the time and do that. And if you want like the true expert curation of that, it's something to work on. But embrace the tool. So yeah, I mean,
Right.
those kinds of things are just so incredibly helpful, and they save us so much time and so much money.
And so when you mentioned some of the like Opus Clip and that, what are some of the sound or kind of longer form video editing tools that you use?
Yeah, so what we use is DaVinci Resolve. And I don't know the exact tool to be able to have the AI go and do the back and forth because my business partner is the engineer and he yells at me if I try to edit anymore. So you'd have to ask him. But it's in DaVinci Resolve, and there is a way to use AI to cut back and forth automatically. So Google it, unfortunately, is the best answer I've got, but it's in DaVinci Resolve. And DaVinci Resolve is free on the
Right.
baseline. It is a free tool that you can use for audio and video editing, which is phenomenal.
Right. No, that sounds cool. So is it, I guess it sounds like it's a like a plugin on or add-on program to DaVinci that does the
Yep.
AI edits. That's cool.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah, nice. I'll do some research and see if I can find it and put it in the notes for
Sure.
the listeners. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. And then I guess just if you want to, if anyone wants to connect with you, maybe just share your links and a bit about what you do and how you help people in the podcast space.
Yeah. So, as somebody who is obsessed with helping businesses with their podcasts, I started a podcast for my business that helps businesses with their podcast. Ta da! So, yeah, the show's called It's Not Just Talking. So, if you are a business owner, you have a podcast, you're trying to figure out how to grow the show, you're stuck with production issues, whatever it might be, that's what I talk about relentlessly on the show is how you can use a podcast to grow your business. So, it's not just talking, it's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we release every single week.
Awesome. Awesome. And you do podcast coaching as well, or?
Yep,
Yep.
absolutely. So, and if people want to get some time with me and sit down and talk for 30 minutes about their business, like a very nuts and bolts specific conversation, go to freepodcasthelp.com. And that's it, freepodcasthelp.com. I'll be happy to talk with you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks, Vince, for coming on the show today. It's been really cool. And thank you, everyone, for listening.